A very good morning to everybody. A little weather extra time for you here today at 10:30. We do this every morning, whether it's myself or Eric Burke. I don't think Brad would be here in the morning because he works nights, and he'll have one tonight at 9:30. But we'll try to keep you updated, not just on air, but also through our social media and our streaming services. And we got to deal with some severe weather tonight for sure. Right now, the radar is quiet, though I have to tell you, I went home to get some food, came back, I had to put my windshield wipers on because if you look really closely, there's a little sprinkle light shower that went through Huntsville and then poof, went away. But most of the day is dry. There's a 48 first alert weather day, but it's more of a night event. The storms will come in at night. Overnight storms add an extra element of intimidation. That's the right word I want to use. But I think the day itself is dry. So a lot of you who know that we have a 48 first alert weather day, but we're a little too busy and couldn't watch the forecast this morning, and you're expecting storms to blossom here this afternoon. That is not the case. This will all take place tonight, and those little light sprinkles become more of a long line or cluster of showers and thunderstorms that can produce some heavy rainfall, damaging winds over 60 miles an hour, dangerous lightning, and also a low-end chance of a tornado for tonight too. Kind of tornado setup too, where a lot of times when you have these clusters of storms, you can still pop a pretty strong tornado. I don't think it's going to be a widespread issue for us, whereas the tornado threat is a little more to our north, but it only takes one. And I say that all the time. All right, I'm going to take the graphics full so you can see them better, everybody, so you don't need to see my smug. So there's your radar, and here's the storm threats for tonight. I just talked about it. Wind gust of 60 plus, heavy rain, lightning. These storms are going to be very bright. So even if there's not one, like say you live in Huntsville and it's like 11 o'clock and all of a sudden you start seeing all this lightning, that storm is probably out toward Lauderdale County, but it's going to be so bright that you're going to think the storm's right above your head. But that's the way it works at night when it's dark and you have these electric storms that can just produce tremendous lightning. And I put the low-end tornado threat on there too. Again, this is for overnight. I got a timeline coming up for you. Obviously, heavy rainfall and the winds are a big concern. Could even have some larger hail too, but I only have 4 lines. So keep in mind that there could be some hail that impacts the area as well tonight. So first alert, I'm going to just time it out for you, and then I have a timeline graphic for you as well. This is 2 p.m. on Friday, and you can see right there, nothing's going on except for a little cloud cover. Model spitting out a little sprinkle or light shower, but that's not the system. That's still off to our west. There'll be severe weather that takes place. It already has happened today in Kentucky and parts of far northwest Tennessee, back into Missouri this morning. That was 1 MCS that went through. There's another one that has to come through tonight, and that'll be triggered by a frontal boundary that will make its way closer to the area by the evening. And notice at 6 p.m., there's still not a lot going on. In fact, you may end up having this like beautiful sunset, and you're at home thinking, well, there's a 48 first alert weather day. Where are those storms that those guys forecasted there at 48? Well, here they come. By 8 p.m., they're off to the west. And keep in mind, the storms, see where they're at right there? They're not in Alabama yet. There's going to be a tremendous outflow boundary from these storms. What does that mean for you at home? It just means that there's like a rush of wind that comes from the downdrafts of the thunderstorm that can enhance the winds at the surface preceding the actual cluster of storms. So therefore, even at 8 p.m., if you're in Waterloo, Cherokee, Florence, areas in western portions of Colbert County, you may actually start getting some gusty winds prior to the line or cluster of storms gets closer to the area. By 10 p.m., that's when we see the leading edge of the thunderstorms make their way into far northwestern Alabama. At this point, you're probably getting some pretty good winds in Decatur and Moulton, out towards areas like Athens and even into Leicester, Anderson, Lexington, PC, Phil Campbell, Russellville. And the winds will be pretty strong right into the Huntsville metro area by about 10, 11. Now, the storms still aren't there yet. You're going to see all this lightning off to the west. You're going to just know, you can feel the storms coming, right? So here they go as we advance the next hour at 11 p.m. They start making their way into Fayetteville, Pulaski, Huntsville, Madison, northern Madison County, Hazel Green, New Market, also into almost all of Limestone, northern Lawrence County. You're still dealing with heavy rainfall in Lauderdale County and Colbert County. And then that leading edge will continue to move into Sand Mountain and Lookout Mountain by midnight, but we're not quite done yet. You see some storms that develop back to the west by about midnight, and they still have to move through too. I think the second line or the line behind the initial one will probably be more of a rain event at that point. And by 2, 3 o'clock, we're dealing with mainly just heavy rainfall, loud thunder, very vivid lightning, but I think the winds at that point might not be quite as strong. And then we see the storms make their way through Sand Mountain and Lookout Mountain by 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, cross the Georgia state line, so that by the time we get to Saturday morning and 7 a.m., if you're a really heavy sleeper and storms don't bother you, you've slept through the entire thing and you're good to go. Everything else pretty much from Saturday that point on is mainly dry. Much of Saturday will turn out to be a pretty nice day, except for a stray sprinkle or shower in the afternoon. It'll be isolated. And then we'll have another round of storms that comes in Saturday night into Sunday. They do not look like they will be as strong, but they could produce some heavy rainfall and may dampen your plans for outdoor plans on Sunday. I don't think Sunday is a complete washout, but there'll still be some thunderstorms in the forecast. So here's your timeline. The colors do not indicate severity. It just gives you different references for the time frame, which is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. for northwest Alabama, making their way to the east. I just showed you this on the future radar, 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. for essentially, I call it the traffic triangle from Athens, Decatur to Huntsville, including areas south in the Coleman, parts of Marshall County, up into portions of Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, now getting into Lincoln County, and then crossing into the higher elevations of Sand Mountain and Lookout Mountain by midnight, and then clearing the Georgia state line by then. And in fact, the way this works is Chief Meteorologist Brad Travis will be in tonight, and he'll have all the very latest on the information that you need to keep you and your family safe overnight. He'll monitor the situation and probably stick around through the overnight, and then I'll probably come in like around 2 o'clock and eventually either help or take over when they become more of just a rain event at that point. And we'll keep you updated throughout the overnight, probably keep the stream going as much as we can. Even if the storms weaken a bit, I'll still be around and I'll keep updates on the radar for you. Obviously break into coverage for any kind of tornado warning that gets issued, if there is even a tornado warning. Remember, damaging winds of 60 miles an hour can do a lot of damage too. And I know a lot of times if there's, a tornado is literally a needle in the haystack, and everyone focuses on the tornadoes, and I understand why with the history of Tennessee Valley. But more areas will likely have gusty, damaging winds than they will a tornado. But there's still that tornado threat, and I'm sure everybody pays very close attention when the word tornado gets thrown around. But there's an isolated tornado chance tonight, but the winds and the rain will probably be more impactful. And obviously the lightning and the hail will be a big part of the storms. Going to Saturday, again, slight chance of a shower. We track more storms Saturday night into Sunday. And this stretch of showery, stormy precipitation will continue for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Not any one of those days is a complete washout. But I will say when you get a thunderstorm on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday, whether it's severe or just strong, it's going to be big-time rainmakers. It's going to take the rain totals of May way up if you are one location that keeps getting thunderstorms over and over and over. We've had even though we have warm temperatures right now, we've had a very cool month of May and a very wet month of May. And the wet part of it certainly looks like it will stay as part of the forecast for the next 4 or 5 days. But the cool temperatures come back too. Here we are hitting 80s today. If we had had sunshine all day today, we would have easily hit 90, but the clouds will keep us in the 80s. That'll be the case on Saturday too, but by next week, especially Thursday, that 67 is not a misprint. That's actually the high temperature for Thursday. It's a series of fronts that just move through. One front, and then another one, and then another one, and another one. There's like 4 different frontal passages in the next 5-6 days that trigger all these showers and thunderstorms. And we stay pretty much in the warm sector through Tuesday, and then we get on the cooler side of things for Wednesday, and once the storms move out, it stays really cool for Thursday. The saving grace and good news on this 10-day forecast is not this weekend, but the following weekend could actually be really quite splendid. If the forecast models stay true to what they're showing now, we'd be in the 70s and have lots of sunshine, and it would look really, really, really great. That would be a nice weekend. Hi, Donna Oliver, good to see you on. I'm not going to leave the 10-day up because I don't think the 10-day is priority right now. I'm going to leave the severe timeline up so you can see it in case anybody comes in and there's a new eyeball that comes in. I appreciate the eyeballs, and feel free to comment. If you say nice things to me, I answer you back. If you say something mean, you make me cry. Donna Oliver from PC, good to see you. Hi, Shirley Hodges, good to see you. Patricia S. says, what about Nashville? Definitely in the severe thunderstorm. Anything north of us, even higher chance of more widespread severe weather. They're like in the bullseye, to be honest with you. Yeah, they already had some storms this morning in Nashville. Shayla's like, they don't cover Nashville. We can talk about it though. I appreciate that. Yeah, we'll talk about Nashville. We talk about anybody. You ask about it, I'll look it up. Even if you ask me about Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'll find out the forecast for you for that day. We're here to just keep you safe. And if you're in Nashville and you want to get your information from us, we'll give you the best answer we can. But I can tell you right now, Nashville's in a much higher severe threat than we are. We all have big risk in this large area, right? But if you want to really pinpoint the one area that has a really high chance for like widespread wind damage tonight and tornadoes, it would be in the Nashville area and then up into Kentucky. So I hope that helps. Yeah, Nashville has their own market, but it's a very nice market. It's a very beautiful area too. Clayton says it's been raining and snowing for 6 months, it feels like. Okay. Yeah, we've had a lot of rain in May. I know that. Very wet May so far. Very wet May. Just cut the grass, Kristen says. You know, Kristen, I did the same thing yesterday, and I felt like a big weight off my shoulders. I was like, yeah! I got the grass cut because I knew the forecast was coming for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and next week. So I'm like, if I don't cut this grass today, that grass is going to be up on my roof by the time I get around to cutting it next Thursday. So it's all good. Nanny says, thank you. You're welcome. Thank you for following 48. We appreciate that. She says, what about Hazel Green? Got it. You should see the timeline. You say, I see it. Never mind. It's all good. If you have any questions, just ask. I leave the graphic up there. I think the timeline graphic is what you probably want to see mostly. Again, a 48 first alert weather day, and I know it says weather day, but this is more of a night event tonight. It's going to be overnight, those overnight storms. I know there's many of you that reach out to me through Messenger, and I talk to many of you one-on-one, and I know those overnight storms bring that element that's just so much more of the unknown, right? It's dark, you can't see outside, you hear things, you can't see, like a tree falls, you just don't see it like during the daytime, right? It's a completely different scenario. Also, too, if you are a wild and crazy kind of guy or girl or woman or man, whatever, if you are out and about tonight and you still want to get your Mac Daddy groove on for the weekend on a Friday night, if you are driving and it gets dark outside and you have all this heavy rainfall and you're driving on the Parkway, you're driving on 565, just be very careful because there could be some ponding on the roads, hydroplaning. Very easy to do if you're going to be out and about during the overnight and have fun, but be safe. And if you're out and you're going to a venue or you're going to a friend's house, whatever, have the WAFF 48 app, put the radar up, and you can see, like, if you're hanging out and you're in Decatur tonight and you're having a good time with your friends and it's like 9 o'clock, you're like, let's check the radar and see what's going on. I want to be a weather geek. Okay, these storms are coming in. I see them. Maybe I might want to go home a little earlier tonight. I don't know. Or if you're having a really good time, maybe you just stay there. I don't know. But just have a place to be safe. That's the most important thing. Kristen, thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. You're very kind. OFC, we were severe weather, the Limestone County Rodeo in town. You know, Preston, it's you bring that up, and I have a lot of people I talk to, I become friends with, that go into the rodeo and they work and they volunteer, and it does seem like the Limestone County Rodeo has some kind of rainfall every. I've been here 3 years, and every time every year the rodeo has rain. You're right, and it looks like that will be the case this year as well. I'm sorry. Sharona, what does the orange color mean? I'm in Florence by 7 points. The orange color is just the time. So the colors don't mean anything for severity, okay? So if it's red, that doesn't mean it's worse in the red one than the yellow or the orange. It's just showing you the different time frames, that's all. Everybody has the same threats with all severe modes on the table. Hail, wind, lightning, rain, wind, and then there's even a low end chance of a tornado, Sharona. So the colors don't mean anything. They're just showing you the different time slots. That's all it is, okay? So you're in the 10 to 2 time frame. I hope that helps. Natasha, Triana, same threats for you. Everybody has the same threats tonight, and your time frame is right there on the graphic. I'll even pull it up so you can see it even better. But Triana would be like near, like just to the southeast of Decatur there. So you look to the right. You're in the 11 to 3, and you should be okay. Kirsten, the colors don't. There you go, Kirsten. You listen to me. I appreciate. Only put that. You listen to me. Appreciate that, Kirsten. And I said the other night you were on for Weather Extra, and I owe Kristen an apology because I said Kristen like 3 times, and she even took the time to send me a picture and everything else, and I called her by the wrong name, but I apologize and I'm sorry, and I've learned my bad lesson, and I now know it's Kristen. Rachel, how bad will it be for Huntsville? Well, if we get one of the stronger storms in Huntsville, it'll certainly pack a punch with some damaging winds and heavy rainfall. You know, a low-end tornado is not out of the question. A lot of lightning, you know, stuff that, you know, can definitely cause damage or power outages. You know, if you get that one really bad cell that goes right over Huntsville, it could be Huntsville. It could be Decatur. You know, when you have a cluster of storms like this, it's not like everybody gets the same level of severity, but we all have the same threat before the storms get here. And then as they start moving through, we can zero in on where the stronger storms are, and we can let you know and inform you right away. Sean says, yard is so flooded that I caught 2 bass and a catfish in the backyard. Sean, we get along very well. Just let you know that. As long as after you catch those, you cook them up and we can eat them. That's all I care about. But I see what you're saying. And yes, my backyard is like that too. My dogs, even after I mowed yesterday, the wheels were all wet because everything was soaked in the backyard still. And this was like 2 days of dry weather. And my dogs go back there and it's all muddy and they're just not having it. They don't like their paws getting wet. But it's, I mean, even with a couple dry days in the last 2 days, still really soaked. I've drive down some roads and I see like these little creeks that have water in them that I've never seen water in before. So I say water funny. I'm sorry, everybody. Clayton, as the line moves through, should it weaken as it comes toward Jackson DeKalb? That's a great question, Clayton. I wouldn't bank on that one tonight. I still think I do think there'll be a gradual weakening somewhat, but I still think when they make it to DeKalb and Jackson County, they'll still be strong enough to have an impact where they could still produce severe weather. But that's a great question, though. But I still think they'll have enough oomph at that point to still cause some problems, you know, if they hold together, and I do think they will. Delia, we don't want rain on Sand Mountain Saturday, getting ready for Decoration Day on Sunday. Have a great day. You know, Saturday should be just fine. You know, the forecast has severe weather tonight. Obviously, you see that on the graphic. But if the storms play out the way the forecast models are pushing them through pretty quick, if they're out by 4 or 5 a.m., it's game on Saturday. Saturday's not that bad. Saturday night into Sunday may be bad with more storms. I don't think they'll be severe like these will tonight. But still, you're going to get a big chunk of Saturday that's going to be dry. It might not be the brightest day, but you'll have some clouds. But it looks like much of Saturday is not really all that wet. We dropped the percent to like 20 because most of the storms are out so early in the morning. Besides a stray little shower or storm in the afternoon, most areas are okay. Stay home and get your groove on. Yeah, that might be a good move tonight. I don't know. The only groove I'm getting on is going to bed about 3 p.m. because I probably have to get up about 11 p.m. And I get so wired when the storms are coming that I can't sleep anywhere. So I'll be like watching Brad most likely. That's what I do. And then I'll come in and just hang out and watch the goat do his work because he's the best. Triana, I answered Triana already. You just have to look at the graphic and know where you are on the map. 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. Same threats for everybody. Gerald, we're camping at Weiss Lake. Ooh, camping, Gerald. Please be careful. For Weiss Lake, this would be a really late night event for you, okay? This is going to be like more towards like 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'd be very concerned camping, especially with a heavy rainfall threat. Even if you don't have the damaging winds and you don't have a tornado, which we of course don't want you to have, the heavy rainfall can cause big problems when you're camping too, right? So, yeah, it doesn't look like, this is not like the storms are going to miss. We're going to have something. It's just how strong are they going to be, and hopefully they play down and not up, right? Albertville on the graphic shows you 12 to 4, Jacob, and you have the same threats as everybody else. Heavy rain, large hail, damaging winds, isolated tornado, dangerous lightning. The fair is in Madison County. Thank you, Kristen. Natasha says, thanks. Trash Panda Stadium is where the fair is. Yes, because the Pandas are away for 2 weeks. They don't come back home until after Memorial Day, so they're gone for 2 weeks. So the fair is actually in the parking lot and not behind the stadium this year. I might make it a little bit less crowded and a little easier to navigate, especially if the weather can hold off, which would be great. Rita says, will the storms be weakening as they come through? Probably not, Rita. They'll probably stay pretty strong. From the time they get to northwest Alabama, even if there's just the slightest weakening trend to the east, they likely will still pack a punch, and severe weather threat is for all locations tonight. David, going to be a late night for you guys. Thanks for keeping us aware. David, that's very kind of you to say, and I appreciate that very much. And we'll do the best to keep you updated for sure. Hi, Bernard. Why is that unhid? No, I'm not gonna. I gotta unhide that. Hey, J-Dog. Morning, brother. Appreciate that. Good to see you on. Where's Samantha? Where's Big Cheddar? Gotta see her. I have nicknames for you. You have nicknames for me. Hopefully the nicknames you give me are good. It'll be okay. Nanny, thank you for watching tonight. We'll keep you updated. Brad will be all over it like he always is. He's got it covered. Seems like the same kind of storms we have seen so far this spring. Kristen, yeah, that's a great call. And it's a May thunderstorms, which we get a lot. But this is the setup, the cluster, like an MCS that comes through. It's more like a summertime kind of setup, though. And if you go outside this morning, you could feel that. It was very warm and very humid this morning. In fact, we set a record at the Huntsville airport this morning for the maximum minimum low temperature. I know it's the wackiest little record, and it's so hard to explain. But the temperature was 69 degrees, which means like that was the warmest overnight temperature for this day. And since records have been kept. And that goes back to like the early 1900s. So a very summer, sultry kind of feel outside, even though we're not hitting 90 degrees every day, especially when we have the clouds. We can't do that. But you can still be really humid at 80. I mean, the dew point this morning in Coleman when Eric was on air was 74 degrees. That's ridiculous. But yeah, Moulton, you're right about the 2 o'clock time frame, Jake. You're right on that line is where he cut it. But yeah, I mean, after midnight pretty much is what I would consider for you, like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Certainly an overnight storm. All right, I got to go. TVL is going to be coming on here in just a few moments. Peyton's going to do her awesome job that she does every day on TVL. I'm just going to mix in a little weather hits every once in a while, and she'll cover all the stuff. I mean, everything that they cover on TVL. They cover restaurants. They cover fashion. I watch the show. I'm the #1 viewer of TVL. And then I'll mix in a few little weather hits here and there. And then, of course, Gina Benitez will be here. She'll be on at noon, and she'll have the very latest on your top news stories that are making headlines today in the Tennessee Valley. I will throw in a little weather then, too, and we got you covered. So, Jake, you're very welcome. Appreciate it. I try to answer everyone's questions when I see them, but this is where I had to stop answering questions and go do the on-air thing. I will be on air, but Brad will be in tonight. He has a fast cast they do at 3 o'clock that streams. He'll have updates then. Then he's on air at 4, 5, and then 6, and then he'll probably keep throwing out graphics on Facebook and streaming overnight until it gets to the storms getting here. And then, of course, he's live at 10 o'clock, and that's when the storms will start making it into Northwest Alabama. So we got you covered, and we will talk soon. Have a good day, everybody. Stay safe tonight, please.